In this month's episode of Hempfield Happenings, we reflect upon the events happening on 9/11/2001. Today we have two special guests who will be joining us, Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Romani. I'd like to thank you guys for coming in today.
All right, our pleasure.
So to get things started, tell me how that day started. Was it just like any other ordinary day, or did you already have this ominous feeling happening?
You want to go ahead and start?
Sure. So I was a student teacher in the fall of 2001. I was at Moselle University. I was student teaching with Mr. Charlie Stoner. I remember that day like it was yesterday. A lot of people sort of shared this idea, and the thing that stood out the most was the color of the sky. It was the clearest, crisp fall blue morning that I can remember, and that color is just embedded within my head. It was just a normal day. It started normal. I remember driving to work, but then once we got here, everything changed.
It was a friend that was passing in the hallway. Hey Mitchell, did you hear that a plane just collided with a building in New York? And that just seemed a bit odd, given the fact that it was that crystal clear blue sky. And it was like, oh, wow. We didn't know it, but it's just like, that seems a bit odd. And then during that time period or during that class, that's when, slowly but surely, everyone started to tune into television sets, radio, and that's when we started to see the first images of what we didn't really know, but it was the attack on the World Trade Center.
I remember walking to what's now my office, social studies office, opening the door, seeing the TV on, and as Mr. Mitchell said, the first image of the first tower on fire, it just was surreal. You couldn't believe what your eyes were seeing. And, we hoped, that there was just an error, it was something, a mistake, but something in your gut just told you, especially as, as a future social studies teacher and then me planning to be one, something in your gut just told you something's not right. Something just doesn't seem right. As we were watching, your mind again plays tricks with you. You see a plane in the background turning, and at first I thought maybe this is just video footage. Now obviously it was a different time in 2001. Everybody didn't have a cell phone camera or video cameras, so at first I thought, oh, somebody caught the footage. Somebody caught footage of the plane hitting the first tower. But then your brain, they said, plays tricks on you. You look at the one tower on fire, you see the second one and the explosion, and then that's where that gut feeling came to fruition. This was no mistake. This was an attack. And
watching the first footage of the one tower hit, there was talk of just as Mr. Romani pointed out, was this an accident? How can someone make this big of a mistake on a perfect clear day like this? And for us, watching that second plane coming in, but also what will always stick out in my mind is hearing the jet engines and hearing it getting closer and closer and closer and louder and louder and louder, and all of a sudden, the muffled explosion. In addition to seeing it, that's where the class, every single one of us, was just silent in just complete disbelief. And it was almost going into shock, where this can't be real, this can't be happening, but yet we knew it was. And then trying to continue on with the school day, it was tough. It was really, really tough, and I don't think that it was long before everyone was just glued to the TV trying to figure out what was going on. And then that's where you start to hear the other rumors coming about, where at that time where it was, well, hey, there's an airplane that went down in DC. There's an airplane that's on its way to the White House. The Air Force is scrambling jets. I mean, you start to hear all this information, and that's where you almost got a sense of sensory overload, that there was just so much, and everyone's trying to make sense of all of this. So that was the other eerie part of this, is to, number one, never having experienced this before, but then dealing with the aftermath of it and not knowing what the next day was going to look like.
Thank you guys for sharing your 9/11 experience. Here's how Hempfield honored the 9/11 victims.